this poor guy. Jesus, Kitty, I picked the worst time. What's up? Excuse us, sir.
Hey, Quincy. Anything you want to put in? Salute. Hold your head, King. Hold your head.
She's been holding up.
Hold your head, King. Queen.
How are you feeling? How's your day went?
soon as you can, because we're running out of time really fast. Don't dawdle.
Oh, gotta unmute my microphone. Wait, there it is. Time to Talk podcast. We're ahead of schedule live because so we're waiting outside. We're not out, but I'm watching the Courthouse. This is live, New York City, for the third attempt in the Diddy sex racketeering and criminal case. This is a third attempt to try to get bail, try to go home. I don't think it's going to happen. And I got breaking news. So we were originally going on at 4:30. I had the countdown going for 4:30. But ahead of this, I wound up seeing news from Deadline. This is from Deadline. This is about 17 minutes ago. There will be no decision today on Sean Diddy Combs' latest request for bail after a just completed contentious 2-hour hearing in New York City. A federal judge has told both the U.S. Attorney's Office and the defense team that he wants more clarification of how Combs has been communicating from behind bars in the 2 months since his arrest on sex trafficking charges. Judge Aaron Subramanian also wants to know exactly from both sides what forms of communication Combs is actually allowed by the Bureau of Prisons. The feds and the defense have until November 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to submit the information. No new hearings have been put on the calendar yet. So what it looks like is that he's pretty much doing himself in, because if you recall the news this past week, there was like a raid on his cell, and they won like a little thing there because that evidence or whatever was seized in that particular raid on his cell was illegal and they weren't supposed to do that. So they had to dismiss that evidence, whatever notes that they were taking from him in that illegal raid. He had like a folder, like legal files, and had a bunch of notes, note to self, come up with a new album title, note to self, different songs he was coming up with while he was there. I'm sure he had other things on there, but those things have been deemed inadmissible in the actual case. So that happened earlier this week. And plus, there's all these things where he is making phone calls and trying to contact witnesses, and he's trying to essentially, I guess, coerce witnesses into not testifying against him or to sway them one way or the other, which totally goes against the idea you're going to get bail. I mean, one of the reasons they're keeping him in is because they don't want him communicating with people, and he's been trying to do that. So, not looking good for Diddy. And again, from Deadline, this is roughly maybe 20 minutes ago now, 25 minutes ago, ahead of them coming out of the actual courthouse there, that there will be no decision. I mean, I guess keep hope alive is what he could think to himself, right? And they said a 2-hour contentious hearing. So I guess lawyers are really, really fighting, and he's really, really in there pleading, and he's just trying to get himself out. Now, there was some other news regarding there was a case. There was a couple of cases, more cases brought against Diddy in the sex trafficking, sexual assault, and such, whatever, brought against him like last week. And it was one of them was dropped on Monday because the judge said that the guy needed to essentially he failed to get the court's permission to file anonymously as John Doe, and apparently you're supposed to do that. This is one of the Busby cases, and this guy it was a 39-year-old male who says he had a drink and then was dizzy and then woke up later and he was sore. We talked about this previously when it comes to the Diddy cases and the different victims that are involved. And we already know that there's many victims that voices have still not been heard, whose voices need to be heard. There are young ladies, there are young men. There were people who were minors at the time, and we need to definitely hear their voices. But let's also just be realistic and look at this, as I've mentioned previously before on the channel, that there are going to be people coming out of the woodwork where it's, hey, I had a drink one night and I was standing next to Puffy at the bar. And then the next day I woke up in my bed and I felt funny. I want $2 million. That's going to happen. And that's what some of these cases are starting to sound like. It's actually getting really scary because, you know, you're thinking about the idea that he was, I guess, you know, drugging or doing whatever with the Ciroc. And apparently, and this comes from some of the victims, some of the testimonies that I've seen online where, you know, the baby oil apparently was laced with some sort of drug. And same thing with the champagne and same thing with like the vodka. So using, I guess, date rape drugs and such on a lot of the victims and the party goers, whether it was to their knowledge or not to their knowledge. I'm assuming many times it was not. In some cases it was to their knowledge. Like in the Adria English case, she was aware what she was doing. So it gets really spooky because you're thinking like, wow, I mean, if I'm happily married, but if I were single on the scene, you can't have a drink with someone. Like I would hate to be a single man or woman and have company and have, oh, hey, you know, it's just like, you can't even offer a drink. I wouldn't even want to. I'd say bring your own drinks. I think would have to be one of my rules. Bring your own drinks. And I'd also have to insist on, we're going to have to, I know it sounds really weird. I'd have to think of some way, like, so that all permissions are met ahead of time. And there's like, it's getting really clinical. It's going to get like Logan's Run, where you just order, you know, in the future, or like Aldous Huxley in Brave New World, where your pleasure is just going to be done a certain way, or Woody Allen's Sleeper. You know, in the future, you're going to order up somebody in a machine or something like that, or it's going to be, you know, we're going to have AI bots or something, because human interaction and things are getting really tricky. And anyway, I'm off on a tangent on that one, but I don't see anyone coming out of the courthouse. I wanted to do a live. I thought perhaps we would get some activity and some actual statement from Diddy's attorneys, or somebody making a statement, PR person, whoever it would be in this case, but I don't see anybody. So, yeah, Ruth Ann, don't let him out. I say the same thing. I don't think he should get out. I really don't. I don't know. I think there's too many things. And again, that Cassie tape, the Cassie video beating was the thing that really did it for everybody. No one has sympathy for this man. There was probably a short period of time, a very small window of time, where people, before that tape came out, where people were sort of divided with that whole, well, it's possible, people are looking for paydays, maybe yes, maybe no, maybe it's not so bad. But when all this stuff started to just avalanche and just started to come down, and then that tape came out and we realized what a brutal animal he was and the way he treated that woman, it got real. So yeah, I don't think he should be out, because again, he's not even being a good inmate. How long has he been in there? 2 months now, right? He's been in there for 2 months. So I don't think he's getting out. His trial's in May. I don't think he sees the light of day. And I think also let's not skip the other part of this, which is the obvious thing with the various connections between celebrities and media folks and high profile, powerful people in the music industry, as well as in Hollywood, and even political figures and people who may have been involved, people who may have been at these parties, and the names and the people on the list or people on the videotapes and the evidence and that's out there, and who's rounding all that evidence up. Is it being suppressed? Is it being destroyed? Who's holding on to it? Are people being blackmailed? Are people being paid off? We have all these different things happening at the same time. There's different rumors about, you know, just this past week, I did a story on it here on his channel, a young lady and another influencer, I forgot the other guy's name, but an influencer on YouTube and TikTok and everything, Amala Akanubi. I'm sorry for butchering the name, but she had two people show up to where she used to live, and her ex-roommate was there, and they're asking questions about the coverage of Diddy, and they're saying, are you being paid to say anything, or you're not being paid, or we'll pay you more? And the same thing happened to another influencer. So like, they're showing up. So we don't know if that's Diddy's people or who it is. And it's just, there's a whole lot going on around this, and way more to come, I would imagine. And as I say, every single time I do a Diddy update, you could do a whole channel dedicated to nothing but Diddy news, and you'd probably rack up 1 million, 2 million followers within like a week. It's really crazy. It doesn't look like anyone's going to be coming out, at least not this entrance. And this is the front entrance of the court, downtown Manhattan. It doesn't look like anyone's going to be coming out. I don't know. His kids are there. That much we know, that they, They showed up to the courthouse today, I guess, to root him on. And earlier it was said that he was smiling in court. He seemed confident and cool, and that he was, he appeared in good spirits. But we'll see. I'm gonna keep an eye on this just in case someone does come out and make a statement. It's Friday. It's been a rough week. I was actually planning on doing a video earlier today to talk about the numerous things that are going on in the world. The fact that we are, again, with the doomsday clock in 90 seconds to midnight, which it's been like that even before we had a situation with Ukraine and the ATACM missiles being sent over there, and then Putin responding with ICBMs, which has never happened in any conflict since God knows when. Like, it just hasn't happened with a nuclear superpower actually doing that. And my question in all of this, I mean, the stress is overwhelming. It really is, because this is literally like a game of chicken. It's sort of this idea, when you listen to some of the people on the news talk about it, they're discussing it from the perspective of, well, Putin has had red lines before. He's not going to do anything. Yeah, he said that previously. We're fine. We need to show him that we're going to stay strong. There's also the rumor that the White House, Biden administration and such, with their time in office waning, that they're trying to set Ukraine up into a certain position from a negotiation standpoint. Once that happens, when Trump gets in office, that they'll be in a stronger position or something along those lines. I believe that it's not Trump or Biden who are even making these decisions right now. And that's the even scarier part, because you're like, who is running our government? Has anyone seen Biden? I think he came out, was it yesterday? When he came out, he staggered out to do the thing about environmental, whatever it was. And they had a photo for one of the summits, and he didn't show up the first day. And then he showed up the next day, and he kind of wandered off into the jungle. And he's talking about the planet, but there's no information. You haven't seen an address to the nation about what's going on. No sense of comfort, no sense of, even if it's all lies, right? Like, even if it's just total lies and nonsense, just to keep the masses, make us feel warm and fuzzy somehow. Make the people who pay attention to that stuff and actually believe them, give them a sense of comfort. Like, hey, what's going on? I heard we're going to nuclear war. Our president should be on TV discussing things. He should be saying things, and he's not. And where's Anthony Blinken? Nowhere to be found. Not a single tweet on X, no sort of updates, nothing. Same thing with Jake Sullivan. Not a mention on his platform to say, hey, blah, 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 try to make a statement, say something. Nothing's being said. And I think that's really the worst part of this entire situation, is that we have a government. We don't even know who's running it. We don't have a government. The vice president, who just lost an election miserably, an embarrassing loss, is off vacationing in Hawaii. This is your current government right now. This is what's running the United States of America. And it's just really spooky. If it wasn't spooky enough that we're playing nuclear chicken with a superpower that is unpredictable, on top of which, right? We admit that he's unpredictable, and we're playing chicken with this guy when it comes to whether or not the fate of the world. Like, it's just really, really insane. And I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around it. And it really is nerve-wracking. Again, not hearing from anybody, not having a sense of something. Whew. And then you got Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett's charges were overturned, and Jussie Smollett is going to get. Now, I hope that doesn't mean that this has-been, is going to end up trying to get back into. I just assume he probably will, right? He's going to try to get back into acting and back into television and whatnot. I mean, why? I have no idea. It was interesting listening to Candace Owens. She did a piece on this yesterday. She was talking about when she interviewed Joe Brown, Judge Joe Brown, and talking about the idea that his entire charade in 2019 with the fake noose and the MAGA people coming after him, it was all a ruse. It was all nonsense, obviously, right? And apparently that's like a sort of government false flag operation of sorts in order to enact that Emmett Till lynching bill, whatever was enacted. Like, the government's playing games in order to include marginalized sexual, LGBTQ, trans, whatever it is, right, to put these laws on the books for them. And it was really interesting listening to that, and really interesting listening to Joe Brown describe the setup with that, with Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Smollett, and a group of others that put this whole thing together. And I guess he was used as a pawn. It kind of backfired. But I think they still got the law on the books, even though this guy, and now all of a sudden, of course, he's, it's been overturned. Let's just hope that he doesn't go back to, not that, I mean, it wouldn't make a difference really, but nobody wants to see this guy. Anyway, Time to Talk podcast live. I wanted to do the updates on the Diddy thing, but again, since no one's coming out, and I do have the news from Deadline saying that there will actually be no decision in today's hearing, I wanted to do an update. I wanted to talk about that, and we will follow up to see what happens, possibly next week, I guess. We'll see where this goes. Yeah. So that's it. Time to Talk podcast. If you've not subscribed, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when I put up content. When you know I'm going live, you'll get a little notification and you will not miss it. Please like this on the way out. If you see this later on, go ahead and hit that like button. I truly appreciate that. We're growing. We're over 4,000 now. I'm actually proud of that. That's pretty good. 2 months or so, 4,000 followers. By the end of the year, let's get to 10, 50,000. That would be great to start the new year. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the people who watch and pay attention and leave your comments below. That's it's always a good thing. I will see you on the next Time to Talk podcast. Have a great weekend.